So let's start with the biggest storyline of the week. Former President Donald Trump's return to the White House. The former president and now president-elect outperformed Vice President Kamala Harris across the swing states and brought with him what many Republicans are calling a red wave. Regardless of what you call it, it was a standout night for Republicans who will now take control of the Senate and, as of this recording on Friday afternoon, appear on the way to retaining control of the gavel in the House of Representatives, although we cannot yet project that. Donald Trump said he would fight for every citizen in his victory speech early Wednesday morning, while Kamala Harris promised a peaceful transfer of power in her concession speech later that afternoon.
And every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve.
A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the results. That principle, as much as any other, distinguishes democracy from monarchy or tyranny. And anyone who seeks the public trust must honor it.
All right, so now let's talk about the results. We've had some time to at least, digest the results, take them in, and understand a bit of what happened. Jared, I want to start with you here. You were on our air earlier in the week. You and many Democrats felt very strongly to be on the Harris camp going into election night. Obviously, coming out of election night, feeling very differently. What happened?
Yes, I was wrong, but so were a lot of other people. So I take some solace in that. I mean, the American people spoke, and they don't want Democrats right now. And the Democrat Party has to take a long, hard look at itself and figure out how we're going to talk to working class voters. Working class voters rejected Democrats all across the spectrum. Women, white men, black men, Hispanics, all, broke towards Trump and the working class. And so, sometimes a forest fire is good for a forest. And so I think that's where the Democratic Party is right now.
Trey, what do you think?
I think that Republicans need to be very careful to not misread this necessarily as a mandate for us. Because I think Jared's right. I think it was a rejection of Democrats and a rejection of really going back to 2008, a concerted effort by Democrats to pull what is a center-right country over to the center-left. I think what we saw Tuesday night was the country reacting and pulling back to where we are as a nation normally, which is center-right. And so I hope that Republicans understand we've been given an opportunity to rule as a center-right party, but not to misread it as some sort of mandate to go further to the right than the nation's ready for.
How easily could that be spoiled, and how soon could that happen? There's a very limited window in the minds of some people. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's the first 100 days, where you're going to be expecting some kind of results. And with Trump, there's a big debate over whether there's going to be results or if there's going to be retribution. What's going to be the right message that's going to resonate?
Look, I think we're going to know here pretty soon based on who he puts in cabinet positions, who start getting important appointments. I think making Susan Wiles the first female chief of staff ever, I think that's an important hire. She was a Jeb Bush person. She's known as being hard-nosed but kind of centrist, not a crazy MAGA far-right person. I think hopefully she was a good governing factor on Trump during the campaign. Hopefully she continues to be that in the White House. But we're going to see as these cabinet positions get named where the president wants to take the country and what his first 100 days might look like. So I think we're going to pretty soon what's in store here at the very onset of the administration.
Jared, Democrats were in this position in 2016, and even then, there was the conversation of how do they reassess and reorient from here. Does that hit even harder this time?
Yeah, I mean, we basically wasted 8 years. We lost 8 years of doing anything really. And so, I think we have to go back. If you look at the past Democratic presidents, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, those were people that knew how to talk to working class people. And they would say stuff like, I understand you're struggling, we're working on it. Not, hey, the groceries are too expensive, and Democrats, well, if you look at this pie chart here, actually they're not too expensive. It's Kroger's fault, So we're going to have to tune our message, get back to what Democrats are, people get a good job with a living wage. Great public education, make it easy and cheap to go to college, have a social safety net for when times get tough, be able to retire and have Social Security there. Like, we got to get back to the fundamentals of what the Democratic Party is.
Looking back over the entirety of this election, going back to whenever President Biden was the candidate, you had switch over. Were Dems doomed from the start in this? Could they have done anything differently in this?
The only thing they could have done differently was have an open convention. I am pretty upset with President Biden and his handlers right now because they lied to the American people about his fitness for office. He shouldn't have run for re-elect, or he should have dropped out much earlier. And so now you have these undecided voters who realize that, well, they've already lied to me once. You know, what's going to stop them from lying to me again? And so I really think that if Biden had gotten out a lot earlier, yes, the calculus would have been different. The way the cards were dealt and the way the hand was played, we were probably doomed.
Even though Republicans are likely celebrating, you know, what happened this week, Trey, is there some concern moving forward about the shifting tides of the party itself? Because there's a lot of old-style Republicans and this very new wave of MAGA Republicans. You've certainly got that new wave. They have a mandate now. What is the path forward for Republicans who may feel like you're neocon types that don't feel like they have a party anymore?
Look, this is natural in politics in America. About every 20 to 40 years, you see a shift and a sea change. The parties reorient themselves vis-a-vis the voters and different positions. So it was natural. I think what's unique about this move is that there's more boomers involved in politics, and they're staying around longer. They're not moving kind of out of the way for the next generation faster. So the changeover has been slower. It's been kind of uglier because it's not just 1 year. There's a clean break and it moves like it has been in the 60s and the 40s and going on into the past. So I think that's the difference, and the party just got to realize that, you know, sands shift, the parties change. This is a two-party system. Everybody's got to kind of fit in one of the two, and you know, we sort it out from there. But at the end of the day, the Republican Party is the big tent party. We're the party that doesn't ask for anything. I heard Grover Norquist one time say, we're the stay away from me party. And so that makes it easier to build a coalition in the Republican Party for the long run. So we'll see how they manage it.
All right, thank you both. We still have much more ahead this morning on races across the state.